And there we go. Okay. So first thing, I think we have a few new members on. Matt, I see you're on. Matt, did you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, if you hear noise, I'm in a tractor, so I probably won't be talking a whole lot during any of this. But I'm Matt Berger. I was in the Marine Reserves for 6 years, and I do ag lending, and I farm a little bit as well.
Super. And I saw somebody, I'm looking with the names. Danny Jewell, is this your first time with us as well?
Yeah,
Did you want to introduce yourself and what you do, Danny?
I'm retired 70 and I have a project I'm looking to do. It has to do with a small farm and automating a lot of the processes so that it could be an income property as a normal thing for a family that's growing.
Okay, super. So, I think we've had enough discussions about who we are and what we do, but I did want to put up there, the mission statement so we all could see that. So the articles of incorporation are done. Those are done with the state of Indiana, and I mentioned that last time. Today we're going to work a little bit on the bylaws, the vision statement, and the like. We're going to continue on with meetings every 2 weeks, understanding that it is taxing, especially at farm time. But I think as we continue to post and show value, this number may increase. We did get 20 people signed up for the Agribility Social, and even more than that signed up for the Agribility event. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. So I'm going to go through this fairly quickly, and then hopefully engage on discussions about the vision statement and bylaws. So updates on old business. We're still pending on the 501c3. I talked to LegalZoom yesterday. I had a full head of hair before that and not anymore, but hopefully LegalZoom is handling it well so that we're sure to get through. We do have the Agribility Regional Workshop, and you'll see the events and the link down there. I know you can't click on the hyperlink, but if you go to agribility.org, you go to the in-person meetings, you'll see the regional workshop in Indianapolis from June 6th through 8th. You'll also see in an email we sent out, the Veterans and Farming Social event. So the first hour of the Agribility workshop will be just open to Agribility and us kind of conversing, kind of working together, finding out what each of us does, meet some cool people that are maybe in the same area. And then the second half of that, we're really going to focus on the Veterans and Farming, kind of put out information to anybody who hasn't made a meeting. And we're going to try to Zoom that as well, or do Facebook messaging or some sort of fancy thing with that as well. Likewise to that, we're going to have some signups there. One of the things with the signups and the website is we're trying to gather data on farms so that we can start to dig into what oh, that's getting me good. What makes where we can mentor, coach, and maybe get people together. That's one of our vision statements that you'll see later on. So we do have a logo. I will show it, kind of do a vote up and down, and we'll kind of show you the progress for it. And then we'll work on the bylaws. And I think the strategic planning session, because I don't think anybody wants to sit on such a beautiful day in Indiana through a SWAT session. I've done too many of those in my career in the Army, but I think we probably need to have some sort of strategic planning session between now and the event in January. So any questions on the old business or thoughts? Okay, easy enough. That's the agenda. Still a little bit massaging going on for that, but that's pretty solid that June 6th through 8th, this is what we'll be doing with the Hilton Garden Inn in Indianapolis. You'll see the reception time from 4 to 5. It's actually 4 to 6. 4 to 5 will be focused on Agribility, and then 5 to 6 will be our time. So there will be hors d'oeuvres. You won't ever see that in an email from me, only because I can't spell it. So
Yeah.
I'll probably put light snacks down. But there'll be hors d'oeuvres and then a cash bar for those 2 hours as well.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Anybody have a thought out there or a comment? Okay, super. So we have some really good things. We got the VA probably coming twice. We're working on the second time. You'll see the SAVE program, which is the VA suicide prevention program. Some resourcing discussions. You'll have our state representative for the SARE grant, Lace McCarty there. You'll have Will Fett from NRCS. And then we may have Darren Chapman on as a somebody who's gotten grants, or myself who's gotten some grants as well, just to help answer questions from any of the veterans who've put in or been challenged with grants. And then there's the SAVE discussion on Wednesday. We're going to do the business planning. Holly Akers is doing a great job with that. She is actually with the Veteran Business Outreach Center. And if anybody has attended it, they started doing a Boots to Business specifically for farmers and agriculture for veterans. And that's been hosted by the USDA. Our USDA military veteran liaison is Manshi Ramdas, and Rand's been doing a fantastic job just helping federal agencies understand how they can help veterans in agriculture. So we'll do a food safety discussion. I talked to BOA about 2 weeks ago, the Board of Animal Health. So they will be there with Dr. Fain's team to talk about food safety. I'm trying to make this not your usual food safety questions. The gentleman from BOA is a veteran as well. And I told him to be prepared for John Antill's tough discussions on why or how to do a butchering trailer. So John, you're loaded up for that, right?
Always.
So that's been one of the visions and ideas that we have on our due out list, trying to get the value there. Katie, who couldn't make it tonight, and Craig Stevenson, who does a lot of work with real estate, is going to help with the land access and estate planning discussion. And then Steve Swain, who's a RESNA certified, part of Agribility with Lisa Becker with Crossroad Easter Seals. Maybe get a VR counselor there. They're going to work with farming with disabilities and give some information there. The next day is the following is then the marketing panel. I think we talked a lot about that. And then hopefully the VA. And so what's going on with the last VA part is Agribility is working on a partnership with the VA so that we can get better understanding of veterans with disabilities needs and employment from the VA. So their compensated work therapy program has agreed to partner with us at Agribility, which will in turn probably also involve veterans in farming, since that's really our communication leg and nonprofit opportunity. So that'll all tie together. Hopefully, very nice package. I'm looking at an MOU on Monday, memorandum of understanding with them, and that should be a really good benefit for us. So on any questions on the Agribility agenda? Okay. So we'll push over to funding. So we've talked about the partnership with Addie's Orchard. We've talked about the nonprofit and trying to push that through. I've talked about all that stuff. We don't want to get the bank account before we have the 501c3. That creates some challenges. So on our behalf, Addie's Orchard applied for the NRCS partnership grant that hopefully we hear from by the end of the month or early June. And that'll help the veteran incubator farms in Danville and Anderson, help them teach NRCS programs. Prior to that, you'll see that on June 24th, up at the incubator farm in Anderson, we have NRCS, Jamie Perry coming out to teach some nutrient classes. AgVet grant, I know Hoosier that got posted, Hoosier Uplands and Linda Tarr, that everybody knows if they're in AgVets. is going after that one, and we're not going to block the way or compete with that. She does a great job. And there's a large business back end to that grant. I mean, if you got to think about it, everybody's got to get insured, you get W-9s. It's a business back end that Linda enjoys, and Hoosier Upland does a great job. So I don't want to get in the way of that. We're still open on the land access grant for Addie's Orchard. As I said, I'll be surprised if we get it, but we are competing for it. And we've not heard that we have not gotten it. So most recently, John and I submitted to support the startup of the Veterans in Farming for the Indiana Department of Veterans Affairs grant for veteran services. So that is a cash grant from Indiana Department of Veterans Affairs, obviously. We will compete for that both as Veterans in Farming, and our partner Addie's Orchard is competing as well. But we took two different angles of it. So the Veterans in Farming angle is a little weaker because we don't have a 501c3 status, but we hope that'll go through. We hope that the grant will come to us, or at least come to us pending the 501c3 completion, because it doesn't get awarded till July. The other thing we're competing on there is trying to get a little bit of opportunity built and resourcing built, focused on the farm up in Anderson as well. So just keep all those things in mind when it comes to grants. Next on classes. So hopefully you can see the classes coming up in Danville at Porter Farm that Sarah's working with the Soil and Water Conservation District on. The next class will be June 8th on pollinators. And then after that will be Big Walnut Conservation Float, not at Porter Farm, obviously. And then you'll see down at Porter Farm will be tree care in August and mushroom cultivation. And then in the Anderson area, we have NRCS, as I mentioned. Their NRCS soil guy is going to come out to the Anderson farm. So kind of the thought with the Anderson farm is, since there's nothing on it, and if anybody's in the area and wants to see it, Krista or I would be happy to show it to you. It's a big blank piece of land with a house that probably needs to, well, it does need to have some renovation done on it. So we're going to use the piece of land while we can, at the courtesy of Alexander and Bickle, who's agreed to that. And then we're going to keep moving forward to try to get grants to support that. But we're going to start with the soil and nutrition class, because as my test that I took yesterday for Master Gardener said, that is the way you start with every decision when it comes to farming or gardening, is what does your soil and nutrients in the area consist of. So Anderson Farm, we have to think of a better name for it. And so we have some low areas that are wet. We have some nice areas that at one time looked like they had row crops on it. So we're going to really do a soil and nutrient class for about 4 to 6 hours that we're going to invite everybody to. And you'll see that email coming out shortly to really, hey, how do I start a farm? How do I test the soil for nutrients, so I know what I'm getting into and what I need to do with that. Okay. Any comments on the classes? All right. I'm going to keep knocking it out. We're looking still for more regional captains. If there's anybody on here that wants to be a regional captain, and I think we're looking for the Northwest and the Indianapolis and the Southeast Indiana. We're looking for 3 more regional captains. If anybody has that, Darren is going to be the rear admiral of the regional captains and try to work through that. So we're developing some ideas on that as well. Really would like to have a committee chair other than myself on the January 2024 event at Fair Oaks Farm. So if you haven't been on before, that said Fair Oaks Fair, sorry about that, at Fair Oaks Farm. So in January 2024, we've committed to a weekend there for veterans in farming. Hopefully, well, I know not hopefully, but it will present a little bit more in-depth beginning farmer lane and maybe. So we're trying to shape it right now and learn from the way Agribility is doing the June event. Because as Dawn Marie knows, Tess is just a master of it. If you've ever been to an Agribility event, Tess has mastered the process for doing these events. So we're going to learn from the June event, and then we'd like to see somebody kind of chair the January event at Fair Oaks to kind of make those kind of decisions. Tess will be out of the pictures, but available for phone calls. But there's a lot to go on for an event that probably need to be, discussed and worked through. We still have the question on, do we charge members? Right now it's no, although I will tell you from recent experiences with Addie's Orchard, if you don't charge people, about 25 to 30% won't show up. So we got to kind of figure that out, maybe not tonight. And then just so everybody knows, I said AgVets is up for renewal. If you're under that program, it expires in August of 2023. Linda is hoping to get that back up soon, if not at that date. But USDA is a little slower in processing these days, so we'll see how that works out. Okay, so before we go to the mission statement and stuff, I wanted to show everybody the logos. So I'm going to do a quick turnaround on logos and get anybody's opinion. While I'm doing that, did anybody have any comments or questions or thoughts on anything I've said so far? You guys want to just get back out like I do to the woods, don't you? So let me see if this will show all three. 2, 3, 4. Okay. So Peter Chastain, Cindy, are you on? Okay, so Cindy Chastain's husband Peter has done these for us. Oh, I agree with you, Leslie. A working membership option for committee service and other stuff. Oh, I agree. I think, that really starts to pull people in, especially, if people can't afford it. Hopefully it doesn't get to be too much. I also had thought of that if we did events like when it comes to paying, if we did events like up at the Anderson Farm on the 24th, that it's free to members because of their regular membership dues, but we charge for people that aren't members. The Wild Apricot system has a way of doing that as well, where we can see if they're members in good standing and make it free versus other stuff. So, okay, let me jump to the pictures to see if everybody likes the pictures and vote on it. So this is the first one. Does everybody see I think you can see it now, the veterans and farming picture. I will show you that was our starting point, or I'm sorry, his starting point that he showed us the first time. And then we went to this one, which is a dark green. And then we had this one, which is kind of a white background. So we had tan, green, and white. I think all three of them were good. We had a couple of comments from the committee on that in discussion. And I really like, I think, what he's done now. See if I can share that. So it's going to come up a little ugly to start, but I'll fix it. So I think this is really neat with the more content that he provided. Oh, can you see that? Or am I looking at the wrong one?
You're good. We can
Okay.
see it.
Thanks. So I think, he added a little bit more content to it. He made it round instead of square. I don't know. I kind of like it. I think my screen kind of messes up this color as not being tan, but more of a pink. But when you look down here, it is a little bit more tan than pink with red, green, and brown in it. So I don't know. I'll go around the room and ask. Tammy, thumbs up or thumbs down? What do you think?
I like it. I like the new one the best. Yeah.
I do too. John, I see you're a thumbs up. Danny, what do you think? Danny is still on? I guess not. Matt, what do you think?
I think it looks nice.
Okay. Well, I'll ask Tim too. Tim, what do you think?
I think that would look absolutely wonderful on aluminum sign about 12 inches, 16 inches in diameter.
Yeah, I think so too. I think there's a lot we can do with that. Between little tokens and pocket and patches and all that other stuff.
Yeah, everything. When you go out to the Farmer Veteran Coalition site there on their Homegrown by Heroes labels, and then they had little stickers as well for your products. I think it would be very compatible and advantageous to go that route.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Any other thoughts on that logo? So I'll just leave it to this. I'll ask if anybody is against it, please chime in.
I wonder if you might keep the simplified version on hand for there might be possible applications where that's kind of nice to have, and it's so similar. I think it would, and it has the same colors, the same color scheme, the same basic idea. It might be handy to keep it around. You might have a use for it at sometimes.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think we absolutely will. And then I also think that, when we talked about the motto, farm on, that goes on maybe the back of shirts or in other areas that we could put it as well. So we didn't drop the farm on. We just thought putting farm on with veterans, excuse me, in farming just got too many words on it, too convoluted. So,
Hey, Joe.
yep.
What are the plants at 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock? What are those?
Oh, these right here?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I'd have to check. I don't have my my EMG book out.
Well, maybe they could be wheat heads, but that doesn't really fit Indiana. I think we all know what a corn stalk looks like. I'm not sure we'd recognize soy, but I don't think those are necessarily as strong as all the rest of it. I like the flag in the background, and I like the colors, and I like the big IN. I'm just thinking, could we do any better on those plants? They aren't olive branches. I don't know what the symbolism is, but in unit patches, there's always a meaning. And I'm just wondering if we could do a little tweak on those.
Okay, no, that's point well taken.
Otherwise, he did a great job.
Yeah, he did. It's a great job. I'll see what we can do to get that. I wonder what a corn cob would look like curved like that though. That might be the other challenge.
I know it looks sort of sick. Well, we could always go with lightning bolts and tornadoes. I don't know, but I think we could do a little better than what's there.
Okay, let me do a little bit of research on that. But for now, I think this looks pretty good, and we'll look at maybe tweaking the left or the right of it a little bit. Okay, super. So go on to the next one. So I'm gonna present two things to you. One is a simple vision statement that that I just wrote off my iPhone one day. Then I think Tim did a lot more thoughts than I did in writing one as well. So I want to share both of them with you just to give you the concept. So one of the things I took away from one of the meetings, and I think it was, again, Tim, I think mentioned it to me, was what don't you like or what didn't we like that were issues with other organizations, either in farming or out of farming, that we want to fix or do differently in our vision statement. So I kind of wrote these little notes down. I think it's important to be the premier or the top of your class in something. I have recently done some research on some nonprofits, and some of them give as low as 60% back to their membership, which I think is a horrible number when you're a $2 million organization. So I think that we should hold ourselves to a standard of 90% of the donations and grants go back to the membership. I think I would like to say 100%, but I think that that is a bit unrealistic if we look at the other areas, if we have to pay for auditability, accountability, and other things. But I think in one way or another, we should give back to our membership 90% of everything we take in before we consider, well, just that. I mean, that's just bottom line, 90%. And that's also standard for grants. So if you ever get a grant, there's a direct cost pays for the grant items, and then there's indirect cost. And normally indirect cost is 10%. So if you do $100,000, if you do $100,000, if you request $100,000 for grant stuff to go on, most grants have an option to add 10% on for like a management or admin fee. So I think that's fair. And again, I didn't want to put down something that we were never going to get, and that would be 100%. Because again, there is an administration fee when it comes to accountability and stuff. So I also believe that there's power in numbers. We talked about that before, where we can help coordinate mentorship. I'm a bison farmer. Are you a bison farmer? And hook them up, together to teach each other. Partnership with other organizations, AgriBility, AgVets, who's your uplands. I think it's important for us to do programming over fundraising, but I think programming is important. And then funding and grants to our members to benefit from. So with funding, I didn't specifically think of giving money, but giving opportunities such as our VSO project that Dawn Maria has taken on, and then help with grants for our members to benefit from. Now, if we become strong enough financially, maybe some of those grants come from internally. So think about that. And then I want to be inclusive to all veterans or family members and opportunities for them in agriculture and homesteading. I think that's also important because a lot of grants talk about that you have to meet the DoD standards on inclusivity. So not DoD, I'm sorry, USDA standards on inclusivity. Not being biased and all that. So I want to be inclusive of everybody, not only because it's usually in a grant, which is of minimal concern to me, but of major concern is that it's the right thing to do for veterans. We all have different stories and backgrounds, and we need to stick together. Lastly, auditability and accountability to our members, donors, and government on the funding we receive. So I think it's important that if we receive funding, we use it in the proper way, and that our members know how we're using it, and that also that we are auditable at a certain dollar sign, which I believe is 50,000 for the IRS. You start to get a more comprehensive tax requirement, and you do start to hit requirements for auditability. One of the things John and I came into challenge with was that the Indiana State Department of Veterans Affairs grant that we put in for, and John did it in a weekend, and I appreciate that a lot. That required a proof of auditability. So you have to have been audited within the last 3 years as an organization. Because again, you hit a funding level, and then the government wants to know that that money is going to organizations that are using it properly. And then I just think it's just fair that if we have members, donors in the government, we have to be honest on what we're doing with the money. So was my simple vision statement, kind of my head. And then Tim, did you want to talk to yours? I mean, you wrote this and I liked a lot in there, and I think we can combine the two well. But did you want to talk to any of your parts, Tim?
I just wanted to say what I highlighted in yellow is the strong points from what we had in the mission statement of highlighting. We want to highlight mentorship and counseling. We want the support focus, and then we want the commitment by the membership and so forth. And I think what you have in the beginning, if you move that slide back for a minute, I might as well comment. You have very strong points here, and the strength is in the premier. There's no other organization in my research way back in April on coming up with a name that even advertises a striving for excellence, so to speak. So that is one thing. Number two, your 90%, you might even back out. If you said 60%, we don't have to advertise exactly that right off. Just be prepared to back up what you say, is what I was meaning towards that. Number three, your powers in numbers is very strong and so forth. However, when you say the word help, help is like success. We all have different definitions of it. And if you can't put it into a Word document of 250 words or more, then you're kind of, and being specific, you're kind of opening up, because, you know, help can mean, hey, we're going to give you $250,000 to start your farm out with. And I don't think that's what we're at. So we kind of have some reservation in generic wording. The other one, inclusive of all veterans, we spoke about this on the membership as being limited to honorable and maybe general discharge of under honorable circumstances. But I put a contingency plan for that in my suggestion for the bylaws. And the last one is very good, and even making ourselves accountable to the government is through showing photographic proof and maybe even a video and so forth. So I think you're along the lines of what I had in mind. I don't see anything wrong with it. Simple is always better than complex.
I like yours as well. I think it does a lot of details that I've left out. And I do take to heart your comments on the 90%. Help being very broad, and then maybe when it comes to inclusivity, using the standard government DEI characteristics. A lot of ways, even Purdue, you'll see puts that on the bottom, and most universities do, on the bottom, that we meet the standard of inclusivity. So maybe inclusivity is not defined as your discharge, but more on we're not gonna exclude somebody because of race or gender. Okay, so look through that. Did you want to comment on your stuff here, Tim, at all?
Only thing else I had there is we talked about mentorship, but I like the word stewardship as well. And that's where I had in that for the examples in there. I kind of made things specific on, the type of support we want to give everybody. We all have different views and different expertise levels and so forth. So, even if you're consider yourself at the novice level or intermediate, it's always helpful in giving somebody an opinion. That's pretty much it. You can end up, read for it for yourself. We pick it out or anything like that.
No, I think it's super. I was wondering if anybody else had any thoughts, Leslie or Matt or Krista or Don Marie.
My
I like-
dogs were,
Oh, go ahead.
it's Tammy, and my dogs are barking, and so I missed part of what you said, but I agreed with Tim's comment on inclusivity, because we talked about if they have a not honorable, other than honorable discharge, that they need to petition for membership. So I don't know what you said about that, but
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. Yeah, I think I just didn't use enough words for what I meant by inclusivity, and that's all cool. Like I said, I think these things can really get put together, right? Don, what was your thought?
Well, I don't like the word inclusivity just because it's got so much controversy around it. Because inclusivity becomes exclusivity in academia, for example. So if we said universal or used a word that was more neutral without connotations, veterans and their families, opportunities in agriculture and homesteading. I like the commitment to integrity that Tim put in. I like that there's accountability. It's not very clear who's going to do what and who's going to answer questions. Like, is a committee going to review these awards? Who's going to be responsible for putting the mentoring together? Who's going to do the training on grant writing or grant opportunities or
Yeah.
that
So
kind of
that'll
thing.
be in the bylaws, and we'll show.
Well, is that
Tim's-
what we're doing, or we're only doing vision?
This is just vision for now, and then the bylaws will be in a minute.
Well,
I'm gonna-
my
ahead.
my big concern over time is money and profitability and sustaining success. And so I wish in the vision that it would talk about how we are really working for our farmers to be in a good, safe financial position.
So something like the success of our farmers, of our veteran farmers, is our success.
Yeah. Yeah, because our mission talked about mentoring, and that's phenomenal because people that are succeeding are going to help people that are coming up. And if we can get veterans successful on farms, that includes the benefits, the grants, the training, and I like that.
Okay, no, I think that's a great line to add, and we can massage that as well. So John, I saw you wrote there are laurels. I'm not sure what you meant by laurels in there.
That was the plant that was on the thing.
Oh, okay. Hey, does Indiana have laurels? I'm gonna have to check and see if there are Indiana laurels.
Yeah, I'd have to Google it too.
So, okay. That's what I was checking, but I didn't see it yet. So, okay. Well, I think we've got some really great input. Any last minute input or any thoughts on these two vision statements and how we combine them? I have a couple things. Let's look at inclusivity in a different way or in a better defined way. Stewardship versus mentorship. I kind of like that one. Maybe we don't advertise the 90%. Help is a very broad term. And then kind of look at the word, the success of veterans, of veteran farmers is our success, and maybe a unit of measurement that we're going to use. I think one of the things that I also learned, and maybe we put it in there, is there's a form called the SF-36, which is a quality of life measurement. And maybe that's what the other one is too, is not a vision, but a measurement that are important as well. So the nice thing about the SQL is if you can prove your organization is benefiting people, then you can take it to the next level of asking for money from the VA and other things. But the SQL is the kind of formal form for that. So we're going to start using it, I think, and try it out with the Anderson farm as we get new veterans up there.
Hey, Joe.
Yep.
Just maybe one thing to think about for the vision statement is saying something in there about communication, because I know that when I was calling people last week, they really appreciated having the communication that we were actually reaching out and talking to them, because they said that other organizations that they would sign up and they would just kind of drop the ball on things, but they just really felt that with the communication, it just kind of binded everybody together as a family. So as a unit, because we're doing this as a unit going forward, as a unit, as a family, by communication.
No, I like that. I like that. We can massage something in there, I think, to talk about communications and, you know, achieving, maybe even put in the words family of veterans in Indiana, in some ways. So we can definitely look at that. So I'm going to stop sharing this real quick and pull up the idea on the bylaws.
Hey, Joe, while you're doing that, I want to tell you that I looked up laurel and it grows all the way from Florida clear up to Quebec. So it is in Indiana. And then I looked at the symbolism. In ancient Rome, it was worn on the head as a symbol of triumph. The Romans adopted the symbol because they admired Greek culture. And in Greece, it was a symbol of military victory. So it sort of fits.
Oh, that's super. Okay, then I think we keep it as is. What do you guys think?
I think it was the headband of Caesar.
Was at 2? No, I like it. We'll keep it as is. Thanks for doing that research. So I'm going to share just a little bit, and I promise it will only take a few more minutes. This will maybe be a little bit more for the next one. We got some great meat for the bones this time. And then I appreciate and know that, you know, we're asking for a lot of everybody every day to try to put this together. So Tim put this together. I think it's great. We need to put some more meat around these bones. So any U.S. military veteran who's a recipient of an honorable, general and honorable discharge from any service era. And he kind of defines it a little bit with both A1 and A2 groups. So we do have an auxiliary member opportunity in there. And I think that's great. Parents of U.S. citizens currently on active duty that wish to start a farm operation in the namesake of their loved one and their sacrifice or in their memory. You know, I think parents are very important to the whole thing. So I think this really lends towards the vision of inclusivity. I'm sorry I said that word, Dawn Marie. Of being
Universality.
universality of everybody in the military service that has, you know, to other points, has done a good job. And then we have an option there for veterans that can be referred to the Department of Veterans Affairs as a discussion. And secondly, individuals may submit for a consideration to the treasurer, recording and chairperson or the committee.
Well, how about if we look at that as getting that out of our purview? And I will be glad as part of the VSO stuff to also help people do their applications for the Board for the Correction of Military Records, so that it's investigated by professionals and that the resolution is permanent for that member then.
Okay, let me highlight that if I can.
Yeah, that's what I kind of had in mind, Dawn Marie. I had you in mind since that's where you wanted to go with that, because we should not really circumvent the system that well. However, is the second option there, which later on down into Article 2, there is establishing a membership board.
Yeah, and if we can clear that up for them, because we all know that there are cases where people were railroaded out, especially around military sexual trauma, where the mission became more important than the individual and it was just easier to get rid of them. So, you know, if we can clean that up, but do it through the system, we've solved their problem. And then they're eligible for all the programs. So we've done two things.
Okay, no, I think that's probably a good thing to consider, so. Um. I agree, this is probably taking the easy way out and doesn't take into account the person in the long term having the right thing, and with a VSO arm, maybe that helps. So, we can look at that.
I like what you're doing, Joe, and what Tim said in the first paragraph. I'm wondering if we can add a requirement for a DD 214 there on account of there are instances of stolen valor, and could we make this all recorded from the beginning so that if there are issues, we can start dealing with them right up front, you know, to help them get through that board, or clearing out people who are sniffing out money and thinking that they can be part of this, but they're perhaps wasting our time. I'm just thinking for our own protection and our own credibility, since I'm keeping records for VSO, how much harder is it to just keep them for the membership?
Yeah, maybe we just need to wait on that until you get your VSO stuff 100%. But I agree. I think there's a lot of value to DD 214 in some place in the process, especially if we're going to, be legitimate also to get grants and other things that we are supporting veterans. So I highlighted that and put that on there to kind of think about, I think.
Okay, and there's
Hey, Joe.
one more thing, sorry about that DD 214, just before I forget. That reservists especially, reserve and guard come out with little snippets of time they served so they can prove they were in the military, but there's no inclusive dates from beginning to end. And so if those dates don't look very wide, we can ask for that record to be expanded before they ever put in for a grant. So we can filter that out from the beginning.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'll tell you, and I just put it on there, you'll see on the screen, is a lot of times like organizations, if they're still in because they may not have ever gotten a DD 214, except from basic training, will take a letter from their commander that they can call up and follow up on.
Actually, there is a letter. It's called the Report of Separation of Service. So forth. That is their version of the DD 214.
Yes, it is. I was gonna say the DD, if we could show something else as well besides the DD 214, because that's kind of a sore subject with me.
I
I'm
know
looking
that
forward to getting educated on that. Sorry, go ahead.
I know the National Guard, they get an NGB form or a memorandum, or if you're like me, you get a memorandum that says you were medically retired.
Yeah.
Yes, or you get one that says that either separated or refrad, meaning returning back to duty.
Yeah, no, I agree with all of it. I think there's probably, like in the reserves, we used to give letters from the commander because there is no NGB form. And you don't get a DD 214 if you've done 4 years, right? And yeah, it gets really messy and you haven't deployed. So we'll have to better define that, I think. Okay, so then the boards, I think we agreed 3 officers' positions, thus there'll be times when they have to perform duties, reserve expansion of officers. Fine with that. I think the one thing we need to agree is a time frame for positions and election process, right?
Correct.
Which I would recommend probably be virtual, because we are in a virtual world these days, thanks to the situations. Advisors, love the words with advisors. I think the important thing with advisors to note is they're non-voting. So we can put that in there in some way. Then I'm only going to hit one more, and then we can go to the next one. And then I think maybe beyond a committee to approve applications upon request, might also include, other committee position structures, right?
Yeah, that's kind of what I had in mind there. I had it highlighted more, whether you wanted a board of 5 or 7 persons, including your 3 leadership positions as well.
So Joe, you're kind of saying that there are going to be 3 officers and then a lot of committee people rather than more vice presidents along with those officers we've identified?
So for now, I think yes, the 3 are required for nonprofit. Those are the 3 positions required to submit for nonprofit. I think we can grow, and we just want to put in words the flexibility to be able to grow. Does that make sense?
Sure. So in this bylaws list, we're gonna talk about then how to amend it.
Oh, it's a good.
Yes,
it's a
that's
good
one of
point.
the requirements.
Yep.
Or it's not really a requirement, but we can talk about how we amend the bylaws.
How to amend bylaws. And so I will send this to you, Tammy, to look at and
Okay.
and edit and put some brain power to it. And again, I don't want to keep anybody past 7, so I'm gonna end this here and just great discussion, but we have a beautiful, I'm gonna look real quick, a beautiful opportunity out there today. So we're gonna keep this close. So how do I sorry, I'm trying to save it. Okay, if not, I have the recording to go by, right? So, we did the vision statement. We're just gonna go to the next one. So, we're still working on most of these items between the mobile meat trailer, the farmer's market, the commissary opportunities, the group insurance, and the bulk purchase of items. I have talked to, Joe Rorick, who has much more hair than me, but often confused with me, that he's gonna do some research on the bulk purchase of items and let us know. I know we'll hit hard BOA on the mobile meat trailer and opportunities there. And we're still working on the farmer's market, which may grow from other opportunities with Addie's Orchard and Honey. So, and I need to circle back with Jerry on the group insurance. So any last minute questions out there that I can answer or dig into for you? I agree with you, Leslie. I saw your comment. I think there's a lot of value for staggering turnover so that either the president, the secretary, or the treasurer, whatever positions those for 3 to 5, 10 hour, excuse me, have that. You're not refreshing the wheel every time. Okay, well, I'm going to thank everybody for their time tonight and say thank you for joining us. I will post this video as soon as it's done, and I appreciate you. Thank you again, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Okay,
Thank you,
that
bye.
sounds good.
Thank you.